You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
From the ACI studios in downtown Tel Jerusalem, it's Louis Live! Now here your hosts, me, and Yossi G. So we're going to bring on a very special guest. We're going to the lines right away. This gentleman plays for your Hapoel Yerushalayim basketball team, John Thomas. John, how you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing great. We're very happy for you to come on the program. Big fans of Hapoel Yerushalayim and happy you're on. A lot of different questions to ask you, but let's ask you about the lockout. What's been your take as a professional basketball player? It looked like there was not going to be a season. Apparently they have an 11th hour agreement, and we'll probably have about 50 games in the playoffs. What was your take about the whole situation?
You know, it's it's a little bit difficult because sometimes you, as a player, you want to you understand how much the owners make. And then from the owner's perspective, I think they had some valid points. You know, the contract lengths were too long. You know, some of the basketball-related income, you know, it kind of favored the players. So it's a tough negotiation. I just didn't like the tone in which, you know, the owner said, you know what, take it or leave it, and the players said no. I mean, as a basketball fan, we always want to see basketball. And, of course, you know, in the end, the fans and the workers are the ones who lose out anyway. So I'm just really happy that they were able to strike a deal and, you know, get something on the table so we can have a season.
Now, do you see that with regards to the players? They came around, they said, you know, we're going to sue you, pretty much. They took the union, disbanded it, and do you see that threat of lawsuit as to why the owners suddenly, it really came as a surprise that there was suddenly this agreement, or at least a handshake, a verbal agreement. Do you see that it was the lawsuit that kind of forced the owner's hand? Maybe.
I mean, the way I look at it, no matter what, the owners were in the driver's seat, and they're the ones who own the teams, and for a lot of those owners, you know, this is almost like it's a hobby. You know, they're multi-billionaires.
Right.
So, and on top of that, they had already signed the TV rights deal, so they were going to make money no matter what. Even if we didn't have a season, they were still going to make money. So, you know, I thought they were in the driver's seat. So, and I remember I was part of the 1999 lockout.
Right.
And the owners did the same type of thing. They just said, okay, we're going to wait, and then, you know, the players were like, you know what, those paychecks that we're losing, they kind of would be kind of nicer, especially around Christmas time. So that's why they said, okay, we'll take that deal. So, you know, I think the owners got the better of the deal again. But now it's, you know, it's tough because some of those small market teams never really can compete. You know, you can't compete with LA, with New York, with Miami. You can never compete with them just because players always want to go there when they're free agents. So the small market teams always lose out. So, you know, hopefully within this deal they can strike something where there's actually, you know, some fairness to the players.
John, you are so right on with the owners treating this as a hobby. I brought this up with Yossi a couple weeks ago that basically these guys were billionaires before they started owning the team. If there are games or there are not games, lockout, not a lockout, they're still in their hot tub sipping martinis. It doesn't really matter to them, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at a guy like Paul Allen, who's, you know, part of Microsoft, you know, who's number 2 in command. I mean, he's worth more than a few billion. And granted, he was losing a lot of money just because, I mean, he had a high payroll, but at the same time, he had a small market team. So he was losing, you know, money hand over fist. But, you know, it's still, at the end of the day, you know, what's $50 million to him? What's $100 million to him? You know, it doesn't matter.
Right, no, for sure. And also you see that with regards to the small market teams, they look at the Green Bay Packers and the NFL as what they want from their team. Here's a small market club that won it all. And
right.
They have the opportunity to do it again this season. And they are hoping for themselves, the owners from these small market areas, to contend and compete with the bigger market areas. For example, Oklahoma City, with what they have now with Kevin Durant, that is really giving, or rather going to be giving Los Angeles, for example, or Dallas, a team like that with an owner like Mark Cuban, a run for their money once the season starts.
Yep.
Now,
it just takes, I think it takes smart management. You know, if you look at a city like Oklahoma City, I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's, you know, pretty much in the Midwest and almost in the middle of nowhere, but they've got great people and great fans and, you know, a huge support system. And I remember when Hurricane Katrina hit, that's where the New Orleans Hornets ended up going, and they craved basketball ever since they were there. So that's why the Oklahoma City team came about. But it's just about smart management who picks a good coach. The coach who has trust in their players, and at the same time, there's a little bit of luck too. To be able to get Kevin Durant and for him to flourish like that, and Ryan Westbrook, and putting together all the right pieces. It just it makes sense.
John, this is not the best analogy, but I put it out there anyways. When you talk about bringing basketball to Oklahoma City, when the USSR was given some freedom, people tasted it and liked it so much they just weren't going to take no for an answer and go back. They wanted more and more freedom, and eventually, of course, the Berlin Wall came down and they had more freedom. And that's what it was with basketball in Oklahoma City. Once they got a taste of some of those games, they were not going to take no for an answer, and they were going to get a team. It was just a matter of when at that point, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the owners, you've got owners who are committed, and then you've got ones who aren't as committed. And you've got GMs who understand the game and ones that don't necessarily. I mean, I think, across the board, if you look at any business, the ones that are successful are the ones who understand their roles. So, an organization like Oklahoma City, or, for example, I always use San Antonio, they are the best organization that I've ever, come in contact with, just because everybody understands their roles. And as players, when you come in, you're told exactly what they expect from you. And, it's just up to you to do the job. And they tell you, listen, if you're a player that we're going to use, we'll tell you. If not, we wish you the best of luck. And as a player, that's all you can do is respect that, as opposed to playing games. Oh, you're the man. We're going to do this, this, and this. And then, sidestep and go behind your back and do something else. So I think that's just good ethical, business practice. Whenever, you do that and you have a goal in mind, and then you say, okay, let's put the best people around us. That's what you get, and that's how you say, no matter what, I've got money to throw it into this organization, so let's throw it into the organization and become successful. And that's why they're successful.
Tell us, what you mentioned San Antonio. What were some of the positives that you found in that organization versus some of the other ones that you played for while in the NBA? We know that it's a team that's got talent and had talent back in the day as well, with David Robinson and Tim Duncan in his younger years, and now so as well. What was it like playing for them in that market?
Yeah, I think it was fantastic because they were pretty much the hottest ticket in town. Whenever you have an organization like that, it's just thriving like they were. It's and I've played against David Robinson and Tim Duncan. It kind of says my age, but but no, it's they were tough to beat. So whenever you have a small market like that, and the fans, because they came in there and they just they cheered their tails off.
Right. I hear that with when you get a small market team like that, where all the fans want to see is good, solid basketball, and the team themselves or itself puts out that product, it makes the relationship between fan and player just that more exciting. And when they get into the seats and they see that, it seems, from the fans' perspective, when I am sitting at home and watching the team that I root for play a team like that, let's say the Knicks were playing the Spurs, or it was the Heat that was playing the Spurs, and you see what the fans are like in San Antonio, it really feels like, hey, why can't my fellow fans be the same?
Yeah, it's crazy because it's whenever you go from city to city, you can sort of get a taste for how the fans are. Like for me, my favorite place to go to play on the road was always Sacramento. I mean, you always knew that they were going to cheer. They were probably going to curse us out on the bench. They were going to do what they needed to do to support their team, and I loved it. It was a great atmosphere. There's a few places like that around the league. Then there's the places where you're like, why is it, like when I played for the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm like, I hate playing at home because it's the quietest place to play. Right. And I think it starts sort of with the organization and the basketball culture and people understanding, because when the Timberwolves went to the Western Conference Finals the season prior to when I was there, which was 03-04, I mean, that place was absolutely insane. But the year after, they pretty much had the same team, but the culture on the team and management had changed a little bit, and it was almost like the fans felt it, So that's just something to keep in mind. I think for management, it's just about bringing that passion and understanding what players you bring in and even your employees. Who's in the front office, it's the trickle down effect, and it all starts at the top.
Now, you mentioned Minnesota in college. You, of course, played for Minnesota, and you were the leader when they went to the Final Four. And perhaps memory didn't serve me right, but I don't remember you guys being exactly a favorite to go to the Final Four. So talk about playing with a bit of a chip on your shoulder, trying to prove people wrong, and making it to college basketball's big-time event.
Well, we were a tough team. I mean, we'd finished strong the year prior, but we definitely. I mean, we came into the season ranked 25th, and we definitely weren't favored to go to the Final Four. But we had team cohesiveness, and we were a family. Everybody fought hard, and our coach was a hard-nosed coach, and we were a hard-nosed team. And we had a great front court and a great back court, and it was a fantastic time because. Gosh, we had Bobby Jackson, Sam Jacobson, Quincy Lewis, Courtney James. I mean, we had a lot of really good players, and we just sort of fit into the system, and we played hard, and that was one of the reasons why we were so successful. I think, but first and foremost, we all had a goal, and we understood our goal, and we played with passion every night.
Now, again, was that something that came from the top? Was that like the coaching staff, the organization? It's not organization, it's college, but I'm trying to say the university had that mindset going in. This is something we want to achieve, and this is realistic, and we can get this done in the short term.
No, that definitely came from the coach. The coach was, he was our leader. We understood it. He came into practice and he said, as soon as you cross this line, which is a basketball court, as soon as you cross this line, it's all business. And he got into us, and it really helped me to sort of establish my career, and to play with intensity and play hard and play with passion. That's instilled from my college days, and it's just part of who I am as a person as well. So I definitely give him a lot of credit for helping me to become the player that I am and the person that I am as well.
Well, we see that a lot with college coaches. That's what they want when their players go on beyond college, whether it is to the NBA or wherever they would be playing basketball professionally, or if they are going to leave basketball with college and go out into the world and take their talents elsewhere. Now, you were drafted in the first round by the Knicks in '97. Unfortunately, never played a game, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, never played a game in New York. And
unfortunately, I was devastated when I was traded from that team. It was the perfect situation for me because I had Charles Oakley, Buck Williams, Patrick Ewing, Larry Johnson all in front of me, and it was a no pressure situation.
Right.
When I got drafted, I came in and I worked so hard, and then when I was traded to Boston at the end of preseason, it was heartbreaking.
But John, you have to say Yossi G's a New York fan. He's a New Yorker. He's always critical of his team. So that's why he said, "No, you're lucky you didn't make it over there, man. Trust me, Knicks suck."
Yeah, and from there, as you mentioned, you were then traded to Boston, and it's a big city, major city between they and then as well further on to Toronto. Now, may not be a big basketball culture because it's in the sense that it's Canada. However, Toronto is different than some of the other major Canadian cities, as is known. Big melting pot, cultural, and things as such. Tell us the difference, explain to the listeners the difference between playing for a big city in North America versus playing for the big city here in Jerusalem in overseas in Israel. What are the differences?
Wow. Where to begin? I guess, obviously culturally, it's, as far as Jerusalem is concerned, it's a huge religious city, and there's a lot of different monuments and everything. That it's definitely this is a cornerstone of the world and has been for a long, long time. Any place in North America is by historical standards is considered a young city. So it doesn't, it's got some culture, but here you can feel it. Everything has been rooted here for a long, long time. I guess and the difference is you look at the budgets between the two teams, and we played in an arena that's 15,000, and of course NBA versus Israeli league. There's a lot of different things you could say are just different. But each experiences that I've taken throughout the course of my life has been wonderful. Good, bad, or indifferent. It's made me stronger in my character and helps to build it and continues to help me enjoy my life.
All right, John, but you can be honest with us. I mean, it's got to be a little weird being so tall and the country's everyone's short here, and you got to kind of duck under everything, and then probably it's, we'll say it as it is. Some of the people are a little rude, kind of deal with that. It's a bit of culture shock also. So how do you adjust to that part of society?
It's actually, for me, it's fine because, I spent some time growing up in Turkey. So I was there for 6 years, so it wasn't a culture shock really as much because I was used to life overseas. You never every day. I mean, someone's always staring at you and doing this. It doesn't matter where you're at, even at home. It's the same thing. And then you get every single day, how tall are you questions and this and this and this. It's just. Right. And there's most days I can take it because I'm just like, you know what, maybe they haven't seen anybody else me, but there's certain days, where you just like don't feel like hearing it. And you're just like, oh, great. And you can look it in their eyes and you're like, what, another tall question? So it just comes with the territory. It's part of being tall, it's part of being an athlete, it's part of, just being a person. Sometimes people just aren't used to people my size and my height, and we just take it in stride and keep it moving.
John, believe me, that's a problem I would love to have. Okay, I'd be happy to take that.
The funny thing is, we all want what we don't have.
That's true.
For me, you can have my height, especially when I get on buses and get on planes. When you're looking for clothes, go ahead, take my height, no problem.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I guess it was when our producer was telling us that he had met you in the store, and it was like, whoa, hang on, this guy actually doesn't fit into whatever, the rest of the people in the store. He's a little bit taller. He looks a little different than everybody else. Maybe he's a basketball player. Did he? I hope he wasn't like rude to you in any sort of sense of that matter. Did
he point you and say you got to be an athlete, right?
Oh, he was completely rude. I was like, how dare you approach me like that? I'll never come on your show. No, he was perfect. He just asked me if I played basketball and. Asked me, he said, where? And I told him here in Jerusalem. He told me, he had the sports show, and would I be interested in coming on? I said, absolutely. You just have to make sure you contact the representatives on my team, and I'll do it.
Wow. All right, great. Well, I'm glad he wasn't rude. We have to fire him or something like that.
Yeah, give him the what for.
Yes. All right, John, we have to run, but thank you so much for being on. It was a lot of fun. Good luck the rest of the way with the Pro-Schleim, and we got to do it again real soon. It was a really good time. Thanks so much.
Absolutely, anytime.
Oh, great. All right, John, thanks so much. Good luck the rest of the way. Have a good one.
Take care now.
I was John Thomas, first-round draft pick of the New York Knicks and now star with Hapoel Yerushalayim.